33 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Sunday Live here at Citizen Television.
That's right. Now, in spite of being brought to its knees by the COVID-19 pandemic, Kenya's tourism industry is on a road to recovery.
But even with the COVID-19 showing no signs of abating just yet, it is time for Kenya to rethink its tourism model, which has largely been dependent on international tourists.
Well, tonight we step into the Masai Mara ecosystem and game reserve to glean important lessons learned from the loss of revenue as the high season of the wildebeest migration continues. Dorcas Wangira tells us more.
If night falls, as we say it does, then here at the Kichwa Tembo camp at the Masai Mara ecosystem in Narok, at the time of the awe-inspiring Great Migration, night rises. Masai Marans display their culture to tourists. Their voices peal through the masks that have become part of their new normal. For them, the communities and every other business that solely depends on the Masai Mara game reserve for survival. Any sign of recovery, the arrival of tourists, whether domestic or international, is important. And as the fire goes out, leaving behind hot and glowing embers, trade of their crafts and handwork continues.
What we have learned, that we have stayed for all those months without anyone coming from outside, we need to try to grow it within ourselves. That as Kenyans we can also be able to move. You know, when no one is coming, then it becomes a calamity.
This year, just like every other year, the Masai Mara Game Reserve becomes the arena for the world's greatest natural spectacle, the great wildebeest migration from the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania to the Masai Mara in Kenya. From July to October, rain and fresh grass brings into this rolling grasslands and wide open savanna wildebeest in their millions. They corral at the Mara River en masse, plunge into the crocodile and hippo-infested waters as they make multiple crossings. Even without spectators, the migration still happens. This is one of the best times in the year to visit the Mara, but being a high-end destination, particularly for international tourists, not many Kenyans have been here. The reserve generates up to 2 billion shillings every year in revenue.
During high season, they make so much money. But they never thought that a time will come where even during high season there is no guest. Like last year, we lost as a county more than 2 billion in terms of revenue. Of course, the national government lost, the community lost, there are no jobs, there are no businesses.
In the 23 years Maurice Tisa, the general manager of the Olonana Sanctuary, has been working in the hospitality industry, 2020 is one year that changed completely the industry.
This was the worst year when COVID hit us down. We never thought of maybe one time we may close the camp. Local business, the Kenyans started traveling, and that's where I got a lot of income on how I can keep my stuff.
Kipus Mene offers a different experience for those who visit the Mara. In his youth, he used to work at the Kichwa Tembo camp, but after he retired, he focused on establishing his homestead as a village, which isn't just a home but also a business.
Upon the sitting room.
Here, tourists visit and pay at most 7,000 shillings a night at the Manyata and experience his way of life. But he too was affected by the pandemic. For an entire year, the Manyatas for guests have been empty.
Wakati sasa corona iliingia, nilikuwa shida sababu ile ng'ombe tulikuwa tumenunua tumeanza kuuza. Shanga zimeoza kwa nyumba, unaona sasa.
Communities had to be cushioned with relief and economic stimulus packages allocated by both national and county governments.
Kwa wageni.
To adapt with the times, Keepers has had to adhere to health guidelines such as stationing hand-washing points and using masks, not just for the guests he hopes will come, but for safeguarding his own large family, where his mother, whom he tells us is aged above 100, is the matriarch.
Akiba lazima tuweke akiba. Bado wageni kuingia. Isipokuwa tuna wale sponsor moja ambayo wanasaidia.
As we traverse the vast Masai Mara landscape, we encounter tourists mostly eager to sight the array of wildlife. This, different stakeholders say, is a good sign.
No situation will remain permanent. We are on a road to recovery.
In 2019, the tourism industry in Kenya, the second largest source of foreign exchange earnings after agriculture, earned Kenya 162 billion shillings, an estimated $1.5 billion. In 2020, there was a decline of 80% in revenue owing to the COVID-19 pandemic. This had a ripple effect on Kenya's economic growth and the livelihood of millions. The World Bank in June said that Kenya's economy this year is set to grow by 4.5% as industries such as farming and tourism recover from the pandemic. But with the pandemic yet to abate, the economy is still fragile. For this reason, stakeholders and policymakers in the Masai Mara ecosystem came together to take stock of the losses and to work towards a more sustainable tourism model. The Masai Mara Recovery Project is driven by evidence-based solutions from evidence-based research findings.
There is the business, the tourism business, there is the conservation business, and there's the livelihood part. Of course, we are looking at sustainable solutions. And regional market is what supported the 2020 and the early 2021 of the industry and the livelihoods of the people in the Mara and other destinations. Then we must now start thinking very deeply about how we market.
For many hotel and lodge owners, there's had to be a deliberate lowering of accommodation prices, particularly for the local market. Saving and contingency plans have had to be factored in budgets, especially to cushion staff from job losses.
We've learned a lot from COVID-19, and after COVID, the big percentage are the locals, which is a very big plus to Kenyan citizens.
The hope came in when now other countries started developing the vaccine, and we say now, possibly with this vaccine, people will gain courage to start traveling.
It's actually ridiculous that there are some Kenyans somewhere who have never come to the Masai Mara Game Reserve. Yes, people all over the world want to come to the Masai Mara Game Reserve. I want now to tell Kenyans that this game reserve belongs to Kenyans.
The beauty and the splendor of the Mara is all year round, even after the peak of the wildebeest migration in October, as the wildebeest herds head back to the Serengeti. There is no telling when the COVID-19 pandemic will abate. COVID-19 has become our reality and part and parcel of our lives. As international travel and as domestic travel slowly picks up, tourism is on a road to recovery, slow, steady, but yet so sure. Dorcas Wangira, Citizen TV at the Masai Mara Game Reserve, Narok County.